Welcome to Coffee Date with Spirit. Grab your favorite mug and get cozy while your hosts, Kristen Forno and Amy Potter, two maybe not so ordinary mystics, chat about the extraordinary magic that can happen when you invite spirit into your life. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's your morning going?
It's good. Busy, but I got down to the beach.
You did.
Yes.
Lucky you.
Yeah. That
Is
felt good.
pouring down rain and like 60 degrees here today.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah.
Ew. It is like 80 degrees, blue
Wow.
skies, beach day.
Wow.
It's gorgeous. I walked down and I was like, what is this?
You're like, what is this? Okay.
It was beautiful. And then I have this, like recently I saw this video of this woman talking about the light on the water, and there's like different there's like sparkles, but then there's this other light, and then there's this other light, and she's like, they're light codes. And I'm like, okay, what are light codes? And she gets messages
from light
hitting the water.
That's
and they're like a download.
That's amazing.
I know. And I'm like, do you like hear them? Is it a sight? Like, are you just sensing that there's light, like,
yeah,
light?
Wow.
I see the variations, but I'm not getting. And she said, no, I hear it. I hear them.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it's just a form of scrying, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think it's incredible. There's just all these, like, I'm always like, wow, I'd love to get that skill, that little gift. Like, can I experience that?
Yeah, I bet you could.
That's what I was doing. I was standing there and I was like, I was looking and I was just observing, and I was trying to like, hey, I don't need to like look, like, let me just receive them.
Yeah.
And it felt good, but I didn't hear anything, or,
So maybe, the way I often receive like intuitive information is a feeling, and then I have to translate it. So maybe the feeling is you receiving the light code message, and then it's your job to kind of put in, like when I'm working with a client, I'm like, oh, there's a ball of energy, or like an ancestor comes in. I have to put into words what I'm experiencing in my body. Yeah. And so I'm like wondering if you receive like your clairsentient, is that right?
Yeah. Like I'm not clairaudient. I'm like I sense things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and sometimes they've been sound, but less often, but I kind of have a similar experience, I guess, where it'll be a feeling.
Yeah.
I'll just have a knowing from the beginning. Like I don't have to even like work it out. It's like, oh, that means this, and it just comes out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess just being in the receptive state. Yeah. I got whatever it was, maybe. But it was interesting because I'm like looking and I'm like, oh yeah, there are different light patterns. And I've never really paid attention to that. I've just been like, oh, the ocean's glistening, or there's a lot of light today. But then I was like, oh no, this is like prickly light. And different.
And does she use the word like code to you and I talked about, we were talking about frequency, I think. Oh, like I think I said like everyone has their own individual signature, like energetic signature. And do you think she's using the word code in a similar way?
All energy, all vibration, or all frequency, whatever it boils down to is something.
Just trying to unpack that.
It's specific to seeing light.
Yeah.
And that it's carrying messages. And video of like, here are the sparkly ones, what they're saying. And I was like, oh, like light is communicating this light communicates this, and light communicates it. And I was just like, so yeah, I think she interprets it as like what you're saying, like there's a signature, but I don't know if like the light codes say the same thing every time.
Right. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Or if it's a being.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like there's so many ways that you could look at that. Like, is it the spirit of the water, the spirit of the light? Like, and is code just another word for language, like
Yes.
communication?
Okay.
Well, I mean, if we look at light as frequency, right?
Yeah.
Like, voice is an expression of that in some
Yeah.
ways, right?
All of it, everything is. We are all
Yeah,
vibration. It's
we are light.
the whole thing.
Yeah. So
Grace.
light is consciousness? I don't know.
Yeah, it's what I've been reading about more and more is just the idea that like we're a simulation, right? Like
Yeah.
we're like there's the breath creates movement into this experience we're in, and then everything that comes through is a vibration, a frequency, and we're adding to it. And if we all meditated in silence for 3 minutes and really went into the hole, and like we just all disappear, like
Yeah.
there's nothing here, it's all
We're
going.
kind of like holograms or something, right?
Yes, I mean, I really like, it's like Tesla,
Yeah.
it's his whole level of thinking was like we're all just energy. Einstein,
Yeah.
it's all of these people, everybody.
Yeah.
And stillness is what brings you back. So I
Yeah.
think it's fascinating. And that's why I think a lot about manifesting. And, somebody's on the telepathy tapes, the most recent one from this week, which is past the actual telepathy tapes. And they're bringing on people who are just notable to talk to and talk about it. And he says, it's like when you're playing a video game, there's a person that has to control the player. And like Tron, if you remember that that's a Gen
Oh
X.
my God. I haven't seen it in a million moons.
Right. So you're in control of this player. We here on Earth are the player.
Yeah.
There's our soul is behind it.
Yeah.
So we can do anything we want.
Yeah.
Anything our soul would like us to do, we do. And if we can harness that, and we can do anything we want.
Yeah. It feels like switching from maybe that's the part of the spiritual journey, because it feels like that's part of the chariot card is I feel like letting go of the ego as the player and letting the soul play, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. That's
yeah.
all of the breaking down of everything we have to do
Yeah.
to get back to this place. And it takes us 50 to 60 years to unwind all the conditioning.
Yeah.
Which is a lot about what human design is about.
Yay. And it's funny because that was what my morning musing was about,
Was
actually.
it?
What does he call it? It was a Don Miguel Ruiz, the Four Agreements, the chapter on like breaking old patterns.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he
Yes.
calls it our something, it's not socialization, but whatever. He's like, it's kind of about rewilding and about letting go of all of the conditioning that we've picked up from like a very, very early age and starting to let the soul lead and and he talks all about this in the passage that I read. Maybe I didn't read this part of it, but he was like, yeah, it's all a dream. It's all a dream, and we have to redream it. So, and so the only thing that is real is spirit. So we can reprogram the dream. So that's so funny that is what I read this morning.
That
So
is
yeah,
funny.
let's talk human design. I'm so
All
excited
right.
to talk about this.
I'm excited too. There's so much to it.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
I want to hear like when you first started being curious about human design, like where were you in your life and like what really resonated or something like that. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So it was a couple of years ago. I was in the coaching world. So as a life coach, kind of working through what was next in my coaching business, thinking about how to develop courses and how to sell them, and, using the internet as it has been lately for coaching. which I hate. I hate the whole monetization, like build a course, sell it. Like, just like a lot of it has been for me, even though I am a internet marketer from day one of the internet, when it started, from one of the earliest companies on the actual internet.
Wow.
Outpost.com used to be
Wow.
SiberianOutpost.com. Like, I go back to the beginnings of the foundations of marketing on the internet, and I am fully blocked on how to sell my own shit on the internet. Period. I don't, no clue. It's a huge block.
It's tough. It's tough, especially when you are in the spiritual field or the coaching, like when what you do is so tied to your soul's work.
Yeah. I'll say that it's been the hardest part of deciding I wanted to go into coaching and having to forge a path that felt completely inauthentic, felt gross.
Yeah.
Felt like fake. Like, I just, the whole thing has been such a struggle for me.
Yeah.
And I have analyzed the crap out of it, like when I at the same time I got my life coaching, not the same time, but like almost a year after I got my life coaching certification, I joined Beachbody as a fitness tool for my own personal health. And then I was like, oh, this is a great quiver, to use for if people need help with their physical system, because I work on the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual systems. Beachbody's going to help them. And I'm thinking of like, how do I get clients? Like, so the only thing that was working for me, which is the best way, is word of mouth. So I would have a one-on-one, somebody would have a great outcome always, and they would always tell another person, and I would just get my clients one-to-one.
That's how I get. I mean, I don't think I know I haven't booked one client from any of my social media presence.
Right.
It's all word of mouth. And I think I have a block there too, because I don't trust pulling clients off the internet. But I think that that's why Justina was such like a great spiritual reminder. Yeah. It's like, you can trust that there are clients for you out there that can be complete randos off the internet, but it's a great place. Like it's just, I mean, there's so much. Anyway, go ahead. But yeah.
I agree. So I've just been, I was dealing with that. And so, every couple months I was like trying another approach to getting your clients, to figuring out your marketing message, to figuring out your funnel, like get people in, and all while feeling gross. And so I saw this woman, her name is Phoebe Kuhn, and the stuff that was pouring out of her was incredible. So I was attracted to her marketing message. She pulled me in just like a marketing funnel, right? I loved her graphics. I loved how she pulled me in. She was talking about this thing called human design. I had no idea what it was. Like, human design. I had heard people talking about it here and there. Nobody in my circle at all. Nobody talking about it. I essentially got pulled into following this woman. She was talking about human design, and she was saying things like, if you're this type of person in human design, then structure doesn't work for you. If you're this type of person in human design, then you like having 18 things going at once. If you're this type of person in human design, she kept saying all these things, right? And some of them would totally resonate for me.
And they're like, yes.
I'd be like, why does that resonate so much? So then, like, I started seeing it all over. And again, just like opening up to it on Instagram with the algorithm, it just starts sending you more and more. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, I don't know what the heck this is. What does that even mean? Human design.
Yeah.
And I was watching this one intuitive coach talking about it. And I'm like, I don't get it. Just like we were saying, these light codes, I don't get this stuff yet. It's not in my day-to-day. So I decided to sign up, enroll in a free thing that she had. It's like human design for business. But when I got into what it was, I was like, oh my God, this is an incredible system.
Yeah.
Human design. And she is leveraging it in a way I wouldn't have expected. So I did her stuff, but then I started getting really interested in the human design stuff and how it came about and what it was, and just went down my own rabbit hole. So The interesting part of this for me was noticing in the beginning of it that human design is basically pulling together 9 different systems into one and collapsing them into this amazing understanding of you as a person based on the time you were born, the location you were born, and then applying around that everything about your astrological positions at the time prior to birth. So it's based on, actually it calculates your inception, not even just you use your birthday, it calculates your inception date. And so where were the stars in this world aligned? It links into the I Ching and your DNA, and it links into the Kabbalah, so the tree of life. And so there are like 9 different things that have collapsed into one that are all helping you to understand yourself from the moment of your birth, from the moment of your inception. The guy who came up with this, it was in 1987, so that's not that long ago.
No.
What it does is it takes, I'm going to read you. Okay. So it's astrological. So all the signs of the zodiac, every position of every planet that we know about aligned with your birth, aligns into the body in chakra systems. So the position of the planets are giving information related to your different centers.
That makes sense.
Right now, the human body undergoes, according to him, some shifts in DNA, and we shifted from a 7-center being into a 9-center being in 1781. And this is documented, like the DNA structure and the physical human body and the way it's put together is different now than it was a couple hundred years ago. And we're in a change right now where we're shifting to 9-centered human beings. So it's a big, the age of Aquarius is in this download that he got. Okay, so anyway, we've got astrology, we've got the I Ching, which is 2,000 years old and relates to our DNA. The I Ching, which is based on the Book of Changes and uses like thunder, water, air. So this links into the 64 codons, which are in our DNA.
Okay.
This maps directly to it, which no one had seen that connection until this guy put it together. So in all the years we knew about this, we lost that information. Because these guys must have known.
They knew. Yeah.
Right? How would it map? And then there's all these relationships around that. And then the 9 centers of the Hindu-Brahmin chakra system. That's the one that his is about. So there are different variations of the chakra system, but this one, head, ajna, so your like third eye, throat, your G center, which is your sense of self, your heart, your spleen, your solar plexus, your sacral, and your root. So your body is comprised of these centers. And based on where the planets are at the time that I guess it's your inception, those planets lock in, the planetary positions lock into certain aspects of the shapes of those chakras in your body graph. It's called. I'm just like blabbering all this stuff. This isn't making any sense the way I'm.
No, it is. I'm following completely.
Okay.
And it makes sense. Like, I mean, even if you just look at the basic idea of an Aries being a fire sign, because I'm a fire sign, my sacral chakra and my root chakra would have its own.
There's a certain
organization
experience and organization you're going to have based on that. Exactly. Based on when you were. So the fourth component of it all is the tree of life then, that is contained and links into all of these centers that you have. And there are 36 channels. So to go from like your throat to your ajna. Like if you are a person who's bringing in insight to speak about it, then you have a channel, and that channel is connected. And there are two gates. There's a gate up here and a gate here, and a channel that connects them. So if you're meant to bring in insights and speak, you have a defined ajna, you have a defined throat, and you have a channel that links them. And that's all based on the tree of life.
Okay.
Has these channels and gates, and it's synthesized into this experience too. And then so if you can sit there and say, like you just did, by my astrological sign, I'm in Aries, and I would have fire emanating from my root chakra. And then you can actually see where you may need support in other areas to help that fire move.
Yeah.
Or to help you to utilize it in a non-conditioned way, where you can be receptive to the fire, as opposed to constantly using it the same way that you're conditioned to use it. So like we were talking about conditioning, which is what led us into this right here. If you're born a certain way, you have all these habits and behaviors, and your whole job in human design is to overcome the things that define you, so that you can be more fluid and open and access greater power and things, and that you can leverage the things that define you.
Yeah.
When you need them, or when other people around you need them.
Yeah.
So it works also as this like plug and play with other people. So if someone has the ability to speak, but you don't, based on your body graph, then you can use their talents in certain ways by the way you plug in together. So it's really like, and you and I can see it play out in us.
Yeah.
So this is something we'll talk about. But so when you go online and you say, I want to understand my human design, the first thing you get is this visual of what chakras of yours are open or defined. You get an understanding of where all the planets' positions were with a gate number assigned to them.
Okay.
Those gates, you can then go in and get a deeper understanding of what's connected in your body, or what it needs to fully open up. And you can then compare it with other people to understand how you're really working together. But you can spend your whole life working only on yourself in this, as a very deep, detailed experience. So back to like why I thought it was so interesting. This woman was using human design to write a marketing message and create a funnel. And I was like, what the hell does that even mean? Like, how is astrology and like all this conditioning and this tree of life or anything, how is this going to help me understand how to do this? What I found out was, based on the type of there, so there are types that everyone can be identified as, and it's two numbers. And based on my design, that it was essentially saying that I should take a certain type of tone in my messaging, because people see me as a particular type of person. And if I use that specific tone that aligns with my type, it would make sense to people. It would feel authentic. So the closer you can get, like this tells you who you are, and the more you can open up to it, the more authentic you experience your life, the more authentically you experience your life. And people become magnetized to it, because it's like, sounds, like that makes sense for her.
And and I think people also recognize too, whether they know it or not, like the energy of authenticity too. So, so if it helps you get in your body and in your life in an authentic way, other people can also recognize that.
Yeah,
Also
because
you can
this is
feel
all
it.
based on energy of
Yeah.
when, the
Yeah.
planetary alignment is not just about like spots in the sky, it's like about what's running through your body.
Yeah.
Even the earth that formed you in that place on the day you were born, it's all something, it's all information,
Yeah.
So, and then it was like talking about your offers, like, okay, if you're a certain type and then you have a certain authority in your body, and there are 5 types of authority that you can have. And mine is I understand everything through my gut. I have an instant gut sense and I can act on that. So it was like, well, run yourself through the types of offers you want to give to people. Ask yourself the question, can I run a 12-month community? No. Like instant no. I don't have to guess. I can ask the question or be asked it, and I can have an instant response and I can trust my response. Other people, like you, have a different type of authority than I do, and yours requires a wave of emotion. Like you can have an instant yes or no, but you're supposed to let yourself, like, just give yourself a little bit of time, right? That's so just like make sure that you really feel that, because you might get overcommitted to some things that you really don't have the energy for. Okay, I'm going to pull up our little charts, which I had open and it bombed on.
This leads into my second question. How do you work with it now, and how is it useful? So this is perfect. And like we can explore a little bit maybe in the context of us working together as partners in this podcast, like how do our types and like what would be like a practical application
Yes.
of like working through a scenario using human design.
I love it. Okay. So let's go over yours. So your type is emotional generator. So you are a generator, and there were only 4 types, but this other woman splintered off and she expanded it to 5 types because there's one that's kind of a blend. So you are a generator. I am a manifesting generator. There's also just pure manifester. And then there's reflector and projector. So each of these types are essentially the way you experience life. And so you're a generator. I am a manifesting generator. You, Amy, as we have talked about many times on this podcast, when you have an idea for something, you generate, you can execute the crap out of it. You have this energy that allows you to follow through and execute and create. You see, not only see the pathway for it, but you can get it done. And the downside of that is you won't stop until you get it done. Sometimes generators have to complete, they feel pressure to complete things.
Which is really interesting to bring up because so many times, like this is where I think that how one of the examples of how human design expands upon like pure astrological wisdom is that as an Aries, and I could never understand this, and it's a twofold answer, but as an Aries, we're notorious for not being able to finish things. Like we love starting things and we don't finish things. And I was like, that is not me at all.
No.
Like, but I also have, and I'm realizing how this is playing, and I also have Taurus as my rising sign. So like to me, it's very much it feels like that Taurus rising sign enables me to ground this creative energy and manifest it into matter, basically. So
Yes.
that
Yes.
burst. So, but human design feels like it even like extrapolates further and builds further on just like the basic.
It does.
Because yeah, I
It
could
does
never
because
understand. I'm like, I finish
you
things.
also, and what you're, we've talked a little bit about how when we met, I just sat near you and watched like 10,000 things explode out of you in 5 seconds. Like it was just like, I couldn't even believe how much energy you had for a ton of things all at once. And that felt very much like, it feels very much like me. My manifestor generating energy is 17 directions at once.
Yeah.
However, you could get them into form instantly. Like, so that's not something that a manifesting generator does. A manifesting generator starts a bunch of things, but not all of them finish immediately or ever. They happen, but it takes, they must have many things going on to get one thing done. So that part of it was really interesting to me, but your design in particular, you have the heart, your heart center, which is in control of your willpower. Yours is open. So an open center means you're affected by other people's energy. If you have a defined willpower, you'll grind yourself until you're so burned out you can't do anything else. But because yours is open, you also have the capacity to pull back and say, this isn't serving me. So even though most of your energy as a generator will push you through to finishing and completing things, you have, there's got to be someone in your sphere with that center filled in that really makes you go after it. Otherwise, you do have the ability to say, wait, like maybe that's not quite the thing I'm going to finish today. I'm pulling up my chart right now.
Yeah. Tell me about you. I want to know about you.
I don't have the heart center filled in either. So
can you tell me what a filled in heart center actually, how does that appear in life?
Your body graph is going to show you some things that are in white that aren't filled in by a color. And those are the things where you don't have any conditioning at all, meaning you're open to whatever comes your way in the experience around those chakra centers. Okay. So for you, you have 4 that are not conditioned. I also have 4 that are not conditioned, but, and 3 of ours that are not conditioned actually match.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. And when they're not conditioned, what's really fun about them, and this is why we're doing this podcast, this type of podcast. So two of the centers where we are not conditioned are head, which is our inspiration and our pressure to translate things into existence. And then our ajna, which both are, this is the pineal gland and this is the pituitary gland in here in the mind. So we have both of these centers are open. So our ability to bring things in and like believe in the magic and be really open to what's out there is natural for us. Yeah. It's so natural. And other people who have the conditioning around it, especially in the lower part, they have to rationalize everything. They don't believe in possibility the same way we do. So this is what I find like super interesting about people when I meet them now is I always want to do their chart because I want to kind of be like, okay, where do we match or where do we not?
Yeah.
And because both of these centers for us are open, it's
and the heart
super powerful. So interestingly, you would think the heart would be the next one, but the next center is the throat. Your throat is open. Mine is closed. Mine is colored in. Mine is defined.
Yeah.
So I have a certain way of bringing things out through my throat, a certain way.
Yeah.
You are open to any way. And this is what I think in our work together makes you so flexible and so creatively outputting all of the different things that we're doing. And I'm like, there's just this one way that I have to do it this way. I can't break this box. I'm trying. And so I'm trying to do a lot of work on opening that up. And it is really hard work for me, but for you, you have the creativity of that channel, of that
openness,
center, that openness. We have the heart open, which is willpower. You have, finding mine, 1, 2. So where yours is throat and mine's closed, mine is the solar plexus
is open,
which is open, and yours is closed. So solar plexus is emotional processing.
Okay.
And awareness of that wave. Mine, because it is open, means that I can process in all sorts of different ways, and you have a very defined way to process. And that way is what drives you as a generator to need to stop and wait and feel what's coming your way in terms of a decision.
Okay.
For me, it's one of my gift areas,
Yeah.
which is I can process emotions through any of my senses. I don't have like a
Yeah.
specific way in the body that needs to be processing
Mhm.
them. So those are different.
Yeah.
The rest of ours are the same conditioned way of processing things.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a long, like once you start scratching the surface of this stuff, like I started way up with just like, I'm a manifesting generator. What does that mean? Right. And I started also with what's called the profile, which is the number aspect of me, which I am a 6-2 and you are a 2-4. And that's a whole other
So
aspect.
is the system bringing in numerology too then? Or where are those the gate? Like, what do the numbers mean?
So
What do they correspond to?
the numbers actually correspond, I think, with the I Ching lines. Let me just find where it talks about it in here. In this one, because I want to give it like as much as I can, like a real definition for this.
It's so cool.
It's so detailed. There's
Yeah.
so much detail to it. And the use of the planets in here, they're looked at as teachers.
Okay.
Like the sun is your life force, the earth is grounding and balance, the moon is your driving force, and you've got what they express and how you can use them. And so if you apply it to situations and you think about your strength in your Mercury, how you communicate and think, and how to use that gift, it's amazing. But it takes time and repetition of going after that information to be like, wait, what is my Mercury and how do I communicate and how do I
Yeah.
because we know Mercury is about communication. We talk about that's pretty common, right?
Yeah.
Like you may
Mercury in retrograde fucks all the
right,
communication up.
right, like
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you. The perfect example. So we know that, but like then not only are you just aware of it, but like what is your Mercury communication style and how do you use that?
Yeah.
And it's just a slight like difference in terms of how to use it and look at
Yeah.
it. Okay. Profiles then. So your profile, let me give the description.
So is the profile the numbers, the 4-2 or whatever?
Yes. Yes. The basis of profile is the recognition of the fundamental duality that exists within each of us. There are 12 basic profiles, each of which is derived from a combination of the line level definition of the conscious personality sun and the unconscious design sun. So there's two ways you think about yourself showing up in life. There's your personality, your outward projection, but there's also just what you were designed for. And your personality is all that stuff that becomes defined in your life that you work to kind of uncover, like what's the unconscious side of this and how can I use it so you can have more of a balanced blend. Our specific interpretation of our profile, the role our character plays, makes our life performance unique from all others. And the drama begins at birth. That's what it says. So this comes from the basis of the profile is the hexagram. And those each have, so the I Ching is a way that you can think about this. It uses the lower trigram and the upper trigram to come up with this, and it comes up with 6 basic roles. They are the investigator, the hermit, the martyr, the opportunist, the heretic, and the role model. And for each of those, there's there's a second line. So there's the primary role that you have. It's a combination, qualities of life together to form quantum. So your profile is listed by your personality and then your design. So you are a line 2. And so it's not, there's 6 lines, right? And at first I was like, I thought it was a progression, like there's
Hierarchical.
yeah, like if you come back around into life or you go through, like you come back around and you always like, I've always heard of this thought, like in reincarnation, you come back to become the best version of yourself or something. But I've totally changed my thinking on that, which is we're just here to experience. And it doesn't matter what we come back as, we just come back as something. And it doesn't, maybe we chose to come back to work on something. Maybe we didn't, like it doesn't, there's not better or best. Like heaven doesn't have better or best. It just has what is.
Yeah.
So like I just knocked that out of myself early on in this because I was like, this is just about where you came in.
So back to what do they call? Oh, the numbers. What are the numbers? What is the number? What are
Okay,
they?
so 1 through 6. And
Oh yeah, so they're not necessarily, you were saying that 1 through 6, even though they are in a numerical lower to higher, it doesn't necessarily mean that one is better than the other.
yeah, it's not like better, it just means different.
Yeah.
And so the way they talk about, they give you a house as an idea for this. Like 1 is the foundation. 2 is like the living space on the first floor of the house. You have the curtains open. The 3rd line is a transitional space or staircase moving up. You're moving up to another floor. The 4th line is the 2nd story or 2nd floor of the house. The 5th line is they say mysterious curtained 2nd story window with expectant speculators outside. Like there's something there. And then the 6th line is the roof with the bird's eye view into the next house, the rest of the neighborhood and beyond, right? So whatever your line is, that's where you are.
Yeah.
Not that it's better, just like it's where you are. So line 1 is an investigator. You're at the base level. Like you're trying to figure out what is all this? Like, what is this thing about? Like you're really like at that level of everything feels on the ground, like looking for an understanding. Line 2 is the hermit. We both have a line 2. Yours is your personality. Mine is my unconscious. Line 2, I'm going to read this one. Line 2 is like a seed that sits in the drawer for years, waiting for just the right time to be planted so it can awaken, grow, and produce its unique fruit. While the first line investigates in order to build a foundation, second lines are naturals who do not know where their innate gifts originate from. Second lines are noticed for their natural talents or genius, and then are called out by others who want their gifts to be used in a particular way. These are hermits, however, that want to be left alone to do their own thing, their own way. While first lines need others to aid in their investigations, second lines are self-contained and can feel very uncomfortable when others step into their aura and expect something from them. They do not want to and do not even know if they can explain to you how they do what they do, or even worse, how you should do it. They behave very democratically because they don't want to be bothered or have to invest their energy in taking sides. The natural talent that second lines possess does not respond well to interference of any kind. In our analogy of the house, it is as if they are standing alone in the front of the first floor window, lights on, happily self-absorbed in their own play, and not realizing that they're being observed by those outside on the street. In fact, second line personalities generally do not even want to go outside into the world. They're waiting to receive the correct call specific to their unique life purpose that will allow them to share their true genius with the world. It's only through strategy and authority that the second line will know if a call is correct. Fulfillment is very important to the second line, and if they cannot live up to the projections placed on them, or if they allow themselves to answer calls that are not correct and that they cannot fulfill, they can suffer greatly and isolate even more than is natural or healthy. The quote for this one is, "Just sit by the river, sooner or later something will come by. This is readiness for the unknowable, whatever it may be."
It's so true. I mean, all of that is 100% accurate with me. And I think that that's why when we started this podcast, I was like, I literally said these words, if I could make a living sitting in my sanctuary and I could just do this,
I
that would
know.
be my favorite thing in the world.
I know. And
It,
I feel it too.
oh, but
Yes.
like being in a public situation is really hard for me.
Which I find it really interesting. And this is where I think the four line, you're unconscious, and some of the work you've already done to decondition yourself is there, which is you love performing and singing, but it drains you. Like you have a public persona.
So the performing thing is a funny dynamic because it is, in some ways, it's like being on the first floor of a house with the windows open and people looking in because like the stage is my own world. And like,
Oh,
so in situations where like house concerts, super hard for me because people are in my space and I'm not in the living room by myself. Like when you're on stage, like a proper stage, the lights are in your face, you can feel the energy of the audience, but you can't
yeah.
see them. And it's me and the song, and it's me and my music. And so,
Huh.
in that respect, I think performing does fall into that. When I produced a concert series, and at the beginning of each show, I'd have to introduce it was a nonprofit community center. So I had to like thank everybody and introduce the acts and like that super hard for me
Huh.
because that is like I'm not performing in that respect. Like performing is very
Right.
different. It's such an inward thing. The analogy actually is really spot on of me sitting in my living room with the lights on and having neighbors looking through the windows.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
love
what
it.
this is it's so very cool. So what's the four?
Okay, so you're four. So this is when you move upward in the trigram, the mechanics of the roles change. And this is transpersonal outer directed process. So this might be where this
Hmm.
is where your stuff comes from with that. These roles have an essential need to share socially with others, to share the past and the possibilities with the future.
Hmm.
Okay, four. A four is opportunist. So you're four, your second line. In harmony with the first line, and this is opportunist, and the words after that are externalization and friendliness.
Hmm.
In harmony with the first line, the fourth line represents the foundation of the second floor of the house and builds upon the security that the first line creates. So you were on the second line. Now we're up on the fourth. We're on the second floor. There's also a fragility to line four in that it must allow an opening for the transition into the upper trigram. While
Hmm.
line three is deeply involved with material resources, line four is the foundation of transpersonal relationships and concerned with human resources. The fourth line is deeply influential and waits for opportunities to embrace its community and externalize the foundations, gifts, or discoveries of the lower trigram. An innate friendliness, akin to brotherhood or sisterhood, facilitates the fourth line's gift for networking. This friendliness creates the opening needed, but also makes fourth lines susceptible to surprise and shock. Their sphere of influence, therefore, is typically limited to people with whom they have already established relationships. Strangers are not generally correct for them, other than as casual contacts. Quality of life for fourth lines is in direct proportion to the quality of their network of friends and associates.
Hmm.
Establishing their energies in correct relationships allows them to enjoy a genuine camaraderie. There's also an inflexibility, however, which creates a tendency toward people burnout for the fourth line, and they need times of retreat to nurture and rejuvenate themselves.
A hermit, right?
The potential opportunities that their networks offer must bring a return on the energy investment that they have put into it, or they may abdicate and find a network that does. Fourth lines who are living
Hmm.
correctly do not create their networks, however. Their correct networks are already there and they need to meet them through their strategy and authority. The fourth line, having a fixed quality, must transition securely from network or relationship to another, or lose its security and true opportunities to influence. The quote is, the fourth line is about the human resources of the material plane. People are the biggest decisions and investments they make in their life.
Interesting.
Yes. I mean, I feel a lot of that.
Yeah.
Four line for you in our work, like having people burn out and the energy investment. Like we have a lot of discussions around our own work together and all that.
Yeah.
And I think this externalization side also speaks to some of that stuff I notice in you, which is this outward personality that I don't feel like I have. Like I'm like introvert. You're like extroverted introvert.
Yeah, because I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, I'm an introvert at heart. And they're like, you? And I was like, oh yeah, you put me in a room full of people, strangers particularly, I'm
Yeah,
in the corner, like not
me too.
hiding. I'm like, just don't have the space, don't have the energy for it.
Yeah,
So
same.
I'd prefer just to kind of stay in the
Yeah.
background.
Let me
And then
read
your
mine.
last one is a 6.
Yeah, since we already read the two.
Yeah.
This one is interesting because the 6 has 3 stages.
Hmm.
And I actually went through the third stage. I'm going through the third stage now, but at 50 years old is when you go through the third stage.
Oh, interesting.
And this one I mean, it's so clearly me. It's just crazy. And I will say that there's something that I feel really deeply about it that I really understood when this came to me. I was like, okay, now I understand why what we were talking about before, like being out there coaching, being the coach, being that like coaching works for me, but like putting myself out there in a certain way didn't.
Yeah.
This will make sense. So line 6 is the role model, and the words are
Hmm.
administrator, optimist, and peacemaker. The 6th line stands alone from the other 5 lines of the hexagram and is best described as sitting on a roof. Though sometimes perceived as disinterested, this aloof perspective provides the 6 with a vantage point from which to look back over the other 5 lines while also looking ahead toward line 1 of the next hexagram.
Hmm.
Whereas line 5 is moving toward others, line 6 eventually moves away from them in order to go through a unique 3-stage life process and emerge as the mature role model. Stage 1, from birth to approximately 30 years, is one of exploring and living life through the third line process of trial and error and bonds made and broken. Driven to
Hmm.
seek a soulmate, a 6th line attribute, they generally do not until they complete stage 2 around the age of 50.
Amazing.
Right? 6th lines are not resilient like true third lines, however, and the chaotic getting bumped into process can lead to disillusionment and a pessimistic view of life by their late 20s. In order to regain their optimism, they look for a way to retreat physically and or emotionally from the world. A 6th line's first Saturn return at approximately 28 years marks this climb up on the roof, and the external discovery process shifts to a more internal one. When I moved into New York and started working for MLB Advanced Media and left my first.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was right around there. It was
Yeah, but I mean,
right around
yeah.
there. That was happening in my life. Stage 2, from about 30 to 50 years of age, is one of withdrawing from the chaos of the third line experience in order to heal and reflect. Going up on the roof is a time to observe and discover what is trustworthy and really works in the world, to reevaluate life and develop the resources they'll need later. Their energy may feel more aloof to others, but they're also beginning to be looked to for their wisdom. During this time of inner retreat, 6th lines generally feel the most secure as they start to settle in, choose a vocation, a mate, and or raise a family. Their third line discoveries are now integrated and become the foundation of the outer authority they'll express as a role model. So chose a different
Wow.
partner, had a family, decided that ad marketing, tech, sports world was soulless, started doing my inner work, started shifting. This is what it says the sixth line is.
And here you are. Holy cow.
Stage 3 begins with the Chiron return at approximately 50 years of age. They're now nudged or kicked off the roof to engage fully in the world once more, this time as their authentic, optimistic sixth line self. This can be a time of radical shifts in their lives. And they may be particularly vulnerable if they do not know how to make decisions as their own authority. The awake role model is a living example of an aware being living in a unique purpose. Hypocrisy is very difficult for a sixth line to deal with. They're deeply trusting beings and model to us how we too can trust our own authority and live our unique life. By entering deeply into experiences when young, remaining aloof and healing through inner work in midlife, and re-engaging and flowering in the world after age 50, six lines bring a unique perspective and wisdom to the way life can work. There's an example of the transcendent life possible as a nine-centered being. The quote here is, every sixth line being carries the magic of the future. It carries the magic of what's possible for a human being, what's possible for any human being if they're fortunate enough in this life to come in contact with this knowledge, and they get to experiment with it and see for themselves. Note, as nine-centered beings, regardless of our particular profile, we all develop slowly between age 40 and 50. Between our Uranus opposition and Chiron return, we experience a second wind, a reorientation that occurs during the mature chapters of our life. Humanity is evolving away from the universalizing savior / general fifth line towards the sixth line process of self-leadership, self-mastery, based in self-acceptance and self-awareness. Those with sixth line profiles are here to show us how to make that transition correctly. After age 50, they are here to model transcendence, or what it's like to live out our truth as an authentic, objective, and aware human being. Amazing. While doing it alone in my little in my home without talking to anybody.
Yeah.
Happily. I haven't gotten to the point where I think the windows open it. Like, I like to keep my shades closed, but
yeah.
But like the thing that really did it for me about the sixth line is I always wanted to be a teacher when I was younger. Ever since I can remember role playing and just imagination, I wanted to be a teacher. And as a kid, I played school for years. And as I got to this point in my life, I realized that I don't want to teach.
Yeah.
I want to experience things and talk about the experience of them.
Teach by example.
Yeah.
Be the role model. Yeah.
And that's the shift I'm making now. And this is why things are so, I'm in this mechanical process of things once in a while where I'm like, no, I don't want to teach it. Like the course, we were talking about this 2 weekends ago. Like the course isn't what I want. I don't want to teach people how to do something. I just want them to have access to the ways I have done them. So they have a model of how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Like empowerment, not like pulling teaching from me.
Right. Opening doors to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I always thought I would be a teacher too. And I even started a master's degree in education.
It makes sense with your profile.
And then I was like, I have no authority to teach anything. Who am I? I don't know anything. Why would I?
I think that's where we're all supposed to get to. Like, there are no gurus, really.
Yeah.
You can't be a guru. If you think you're a guru, you're not a guru.
You're not.
There are gurus, but they're gone. We didn't label them as that until they were done.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that that's where we have this resonance with the podcast is I think we both share that vision of like, this is, I don't want to say, here's the steps to do this, but here's how I did it. Is it interesting to you? And here's some resources for you to explore on your own, you know?
Yeah.
Or join us in this exploration. But I mean, it's an exploration, not a teacher standing at the front of the class saying, this is how you do it.
Right. Right. it makes a big difference when
Yeah.
it's like we were saying, if we're really present and we're meant to be here now, then it's all about the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of experiences now. So you have to, like, I have broken my life apart multiple times and put it back together. It's so fascinating to me.
I had a friend say, mine probably hasn't been as dramatic as your breaking open, but I had a friend say to me not too long ago, she's like, Amy, I've seen you reinvent yourself 5 times since I've known you.
I
And
have
she's like,
too.
and I've only known you for 10 years, you know?
That's me. That's me. I've seen you do it too.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that really draws me to you is that you're willing to step into something and learn it and see if you like it.
I feel like I get my mom said something similar to me too. Hers was with a slightly judgmental flair of like, you're changing your life every second. Like, I don't even know what you're doing anymore. And I was like, the way I feel about my own career and the unraveling of things is that each iteration is that I get a deeper expression and an ease with which I get to communicate my soul.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, here, I thought could be a floral designer because I love playing with flowers and I love magic and like it was in there, but like it was so much conditioning in that job. And so each iteration has like, it's the alchemical flame, right? Of burning off all of the dross
Yeah.
just to get down to the center of that creative self.
Right.
And that's what I feel like. I haven't reinvented myself because all of these things were already within me. It's
Yeah.
more about peeling away the layers that are hiding the light. Like we talked about the lampshades, right? So it's
Yes.
just like opening the petals and that you just don't have to carry anymore.
Getting
And
to your authenticity,
yeah, yeah,
like what's really down there. And with our open heads, like we have so much opportunity and possibility that we're not limiting ourselves to those ideas and our body follows through on them.
yeah,
So we're
yeah,
lucky. Like I feel like closed-minded is closed-minded for a reason, right? Like you're locked in. You can't like get past where you're at, but I don't feel that way about anything.
yeah,
People always say there are a couple phrases that always drive me nuts like when people don't want you to change or they're like, you've changed like it's a
right,
judgment. That drives me crazy
yeah,
because I'm like that's available to you too.
right,
And you're just making a choice to stay fixed as who you are. And that's fine. Like you
yeah.
can stay there, but there's no knock on being able to change, being able to transform. And transformation is one of your channels, by the way.
Hmm.
I think it's one of my channels too.
Okay, that makes
We have that within us, within our design, and we're meant to show people that it's possible,
yeah.
you know?
But I mean, this is the joke of it though, is that if you look at who I was as a 3, 4, 5 year old, I am more like her than, so there has been no change. If anything, like it's the
This is the
re-become. I know you don't like
conditioning.
the word becoming, but it's like I was
That's the
born this, then I was conditioned to be something, and
yes.
now I'm becoming who I
Yeah.
came in as,
Yeah.
like,
So, like, that's the most amazing thing about witnessing, like, some of these other cultures I've been exposed to in their traditions is, imagine being born and being told what your role is right from the start and being cultivated to
mhm,
that. But
yeah.
we don't do that in America.
Mm-mm.
We shut all that shit down. We're like, no, 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 there's no magic. It's not like you gotta like sit down at this desk. You gotta learn this crap we're gonna feed into you about how you can do math so you can go out there and work a cash register someday. Like,
Yep.
what? Like
Yep.
we are so far from like truly cultivating humanity. It's
I think that's why Montessori was, and
yeah,
probably I don't know much about Steiner, but
yeah,
those educational thinkers
yeah,
understood the nature we were born with and how to cultivate that, or at least they attempted to try to cultivate that in children. And I've never been so inspired that when I did my Montessori training, it was like, yes, you find the spark in the kid and you cultivate the spark.
Yes.
And then you teach them how to go be like a part of the world and give them tools to use their gifts in the world. I'm like,
is there Montessori for adults, by the way?
What?
Is there a Montessori for
There
adults?
should be.
Like that could be the deconditioning
That would
school,
be
right?
so amazing.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was just like, yes, this makes sense. And then you don't have internal conflict because you're not fighting with your conditioned self and your true self, or like your conditioned self and this divine self. So you have children who are at peace in their bodies because like they're
allowed to be who they are.
Right. Yeah.
Like what the construct that has been created around the financial and government and political stuff applied onto this just doesn't work. It is the matrix. It's the stuff that unfortunately in our culture we didn't get right.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're in the dismantling of it now. So this is the part of me that is holding these two things right now, which is like the total fear and terror of watching all this stuff go down the tubes, and the other side of it of hope and optimism, like, this stuff doesn't work. Like we are a mess. Like how much freer can we get with the hope that somebody builds something bigger, better, brighter, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah. So that's our that is me, who is not certified in human design, talking about human design today. And I have so much more to share, but it would just take forever. I will say there are a couple great sites out there to go find what your human design type and profile are. And to start with type and profile and definition, like understanding simple things about yourself that is similar to looking up your astrological sign, right? Astrology is embedded in this. Look it up, get an understanding of what your profile is, like Amy being a hermit opportunist and me being a role model.
What a weird, it's so me, a hermit opportunist.
It's really good, right? When I read it, I'm like, yeah. And so go do that. And then some of the fun things I've been doing with it are getting deeper into the channels that I have and looking at, there's a whole offshoot of gene keys that link to the I Ching, and there's a little more, and then working on the shadow side of the different conditioning, like working on deconditioning is really what that's about. And one of the most fun things I've been able to do with it is to use AI to ask questions about it. And that's what I learned with Phoebe Kuhn, was dump some of your profile and what you are and all this stuff into AI and ask questions about it. Like, what would my ideal job look like doing this? And, for me, it's coaching. Coaching is a great thing. One-to-one, group. This podcast, it loves the idea that I'm doing this type of podcast. Like this matches with my human design. I can make decisions based on this, and I can even ask AI to confirm the decisions if I want to, but it's fun stuff.
Yeah.
It's giving me someone to respond to. So something to respond to. So that's what I would give you as extensions.
And then our next episode, I was like, we could do another deeper dive into this the next episode, but we have a very, very, very special guest in our next episode. Kristen and I are hosting our teacher, Jennifer Halls, and
excited
talking about her new book.
I am so excited. Yes, it's going to be published on the day we're recording, actually.
Okay.
Published on May 29th of this month. And it is like, I think 20 years in the making for her. Although I think the real writing of it has been shorter, but her experience with intuition and making it practical, it's thrilling to have her.
So she's the founder. I mean, not only did Kristen and I meet through Jennifer at one of her amazing women's retreats, women's creative intuitive retreats, but Jennifer is a huge contributor to the foundation of my work as an intuitive and opening up a channel to spirit guides, to understanding the intersection of intuition and the creative process and the imagination. Anyway, so I cannot wait. I'm so excited to have her on.
I think that, yeah, there's just she just keeps it real. She brings it back down to like the truly practical, and she doesn't like with me, she doesn't let me get ahead of myself on all of it, or into a space that, this balance of role model teacher, like she's really good at like just being like, feel into your butt. Like, what are you experiencing and what is it telling you? And anybody can do this. It's available to us all. It's not some sort of secret that you have to go study forever.
So we love you all. Thanks for listening. And we will see you in a couple weeks with Jennifer Halls.
Yay!
Have a great week.
Come take a peek with me. I see another side.
Thanks for joining us. Until our next coffee date, may Spirit lead you into all the magic